Hello and welcome, Mentorship Sessions. I usually do these with my team members to mentor young people and to mentor everybody who's got high goals that they want to achieve in this new year. Now, these mentorship sessions are meant to push you, engage you, and I advise you to take out a notepad, write it down, and shut down every single bit of noise. Now, discipline is the only way out of 2026. It's a new year. People have got goals, affirmations, people have got vision boards, people have got things they want to achieve. And when the year begins, everybody's excited, everybody's fired up. But as challenges come, it is only the disciplined ones that are actually free. Only the disciplined ones really get to achieve what they want to achieve. Now, most people see the dream, the cars, the luxury. They see that this person has made a lot of money, or they see that this person is successful, or somebody that they want to be. But many of them do not want to be disciplined. Now, there's only two places in life: either you're a slave or you are free. There's no in between. Whatever you do not discipline, train, defeat, you're a slave to it. And those that don't engage in discipline, they might think they're free, but they're actually slaves. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the most important things and the most important truths to realize that sometimes shortcuts are not the ones. Quick fixes, do this, do that for a few hours, and immediately, bam, you're going to be successful. Sometimes those do not even work. What does work is consistency. What does work is you being disciplined. Now, I want to tell a personal story. When I was very young, I was an obese young person. I weighed over 100 kilograms at the age of 14, 15, 16. I used to eat burgers like they were a joke. I used to eat pizzas like they were a joke. I was literally overweight. People laughed at me. People spoke about me to say, whoa, this kid is huge. When I had to go shopping, my mom often had to buy me the oversized adult clothes because I was an obese child. And there was a time where I got to a place where I was disgusted with the way that I looked. As a young person, when it was time to swim, we went over to a resort where it was a swimming resort, and I wore a t-shirt to swim with, while every other young person had, pants only. They were just swimming without any t-shirts on. But I wore a t-shirt because I was disgusted. I felt that the rolls on my stomach were too embarrassing to do so. And it was when I had reached that point of rock bottom that I decided that I'm going to free myself from this bondage and I'm going to truly become free. And that point of freedom did not look like a decision that I made and poof, I was free. No, it looked like systems that I had to put in place to make sure that I truly attained that freedom. One of the first things I had to do was to control and understand the problem that I was in. I had to understand what is going on. And many people don't take time to do that. I mean, they don't understand the pain. And sometimes change only happens when you sit down and you understand the problem or the pain point that you're in. My problem was clear. I was overeating. I didn't wait until I felt full. I wanted to finish everything that came onto my plate. My problem was clear. Delivery services were derailing me. Specials were derailing me. I was having burgers almost every day, chips almost every day. I was eating whatever it is that I could eat. And I had found myself as an obese person. And it's when I hit rock bottom when it comes to that, that I began to say, I will be more disciplined. For you, it might be hitting rock bottom by being unemployed. Rock bottom for you might be the fact that you don't have enough money. Might be the fact that you don't have savings. Might be the fact that you want to increase your income. It might be the fact that you want to grow your business. There is a point of rock bottom. There is a point where you reach an area in life where you feel that I am truly exhausted by this thing. Where you remember waking up being tired. I remember hating physical sports. I remember struggling with this thing. I had lost control and I had hit rock bottom. And one of the things that I did, and this is the first key that you're going to take, and as you join in these mentorship sessions, make sure that you've got notes that you take down because you're building yourself. You're implementing these things in your own life. One of the things I had to do was understand, what is my problem? What is my stronghold? What's the issue? There's a proverb that I love, Proverbs 25 verse 28. It says, like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. Many times when you find yourself in a very bad situation where you're addicted to something bad, where you're losing a lot of money, where you're gambling, where you're addicted to pornography, where you're addicted to things that do not serve you, you have lost control. And the first thing you need to do is understand what is the problem. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self control. So you are a city. See yourself like a city. Your walls have been permeated, your walls have been destroyed by all these bad habits. You need to then start to fix every single loophole, fix everything that causes you to go back to that same place. And as 2026 begins to continue, you'll notice that many people will give up. Many people will regress on their goals. Many people will step back because things get tiring. Yes, things do get tiring. Things do get difficult. So it's important for you to be like that. So for me, it was very important. The realization that I had was that I could change things. I could change my body. I realized that I could change my life. I could change my bank account. I could change. The first realization is that you can change things. Everyone who has the results that you would want, they changed things. You can. In Corinthians 9 verse 27 says, "But I discipline my body and bring it into subjection, lest when I have preached to others, I myself should be disqualified." It speaks to the fact that you are the only one who can discipline yourself, whether it's saving money, whether it's investing, whether it's starting a business, whether it's growing your business, whether it's following your dream, whether it's doing well at your job, getting a raise, whatever it is, you are in charge of that. And the first thing I had to learn through this journey of obesity, now you can imagine I'm a fat kid, I'm eating everything, I'm obese. The first thing I had to learn, number one, was delayed gratification, because I took a week where I ate salads and I jogged. And at the end of the week, I looked in front of the mirror and I tried to see this amazing version of myself. And I said, but the fat rolls are still there. What is going on? And I know so many people cannot imagine me as an obese kid, but those that know me, and if you are there in the comment section and you do know me from a young age, comment there and let them know how fat I was. And at the end of that week, I was like, but I haven't lost any weight. I've been training, I've been doing this, I'm seeing no results. That was the first thing I had to learn, delayed gratification. That it was not going to happen in a week. It didn't happen in 2 weeks. It didn't happen in 3 weeks. I had to create systems. I had to build a protocol for myself that I had to follow on a daily basis. Those systems had to govern me reaching that goal. And the many reasons why people never reach their goals when a new year starts, it is because they do not have systems. A city without walls is a person who has no discipline. Yes, we can shout, we can do the affirmations, we can be excited, we can be filled with vigor. But if the discipline is not there, you will not make it. So that was the rule number one for me, delayed gratification. And I hated it. I'm going to be honest. How many of you hate delayed gratification? Let's be honest. Some of the reason why people do not save their money is because they feel like, okay, I'm going to save my money and I'm only going to get the house in the future. I'm only going to get the car in the future. Delayed gratification. And one of the things I got to learn was the power of seeing visions, the power of visualization. Because a lot of the times when you talk to people, they make things very spooky, they make things very freaky. A vision is an image of yourself in the future. You create that image. And I began to see myself, what will it look like when I'm going to the swimming pool and I'm not timid, I'm not shy, I'm not embarrassed, I'm not disgusted, and I actually have my shirt off. And I'm able to get into the swimming pool and I look great. What will it look like when I don't have health issues because I'm a obese child? I had health issues. I had stomach ulcers because every day I was drinking cool drink. Every day it was a struggle for me to get from the prison of just allowing everything that I'm doing to freedom, where I now have self-control. The second point is consistency. And if you're watching this and you don't have time to finish it, save this and come back and watch it, because it will truly empower you for 2026. Consistency. A lot of people start something and they stop it. I always say to people look at me today and say, you've done so well in the cryptocurrency industry. You've advised presidents. You're able to know the price. You do all this. You speak very well. You do all this. And I say, what you do not know is that I have been consistent at doing this for a very long time. One of the things that I've done from a very young age is that I used to teach at the Sunday school in church. Now, when I used to teach at the Sunday school in church, I used to start, it was a very small group of young people, about 10 of us. I used to stand up and I used to teach. And every other week, I would teach at the Sunday school. And I would learn, how do you teach in a way that can build up somebody's life? And if I look back at everybody who attended Sunday school with me, many of them have become very successful. If I look back at the young people that I mentored in debating teams, they've become very successful. But the secret was, I started teaching at a very young age, 7, 8 years old, in a very small town, and every single Sunday I would be teaching young people. And now when I speak to somebody, they often say to me, when I listen to you, it's like you're building me up. It's like you're empowering me. Why do I feel like that? And I say, I've been doing this for years and I understand. I understand that consistency is the thing that gains momentum and brings you power. Now, here's the biggest part about consistency. It gets boring. It gets boring. It gets to a point where you don't want to do it. It gets to a point where it is very boring. And when I was losing weight as a young person, there were days where I said, you know what, I'm going to run 10 kilometers and I'm going to just like lose all this weight immediately. And I ran 10 kilometers. I was very intense and I took a break for 3 days. That break I took because I was tired became 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, and I stopped. So sometimes you meet somebody and they're excited. You know, it's a new year. They're going to the gym. They're intense. You're like, oh, give them 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, they stop. What happened? Consistency is much better than intensity. You running for 5 hours, going to the gym for 5 hours is not going to work for you. Rather do 30 minutes. Let that be your 5 hours for the week. Then you will see that it is the showing up every day that really compounds and help us do so. Then the third and most important thing. Now, this one was so tough for me. And I always share these in my private mentorship sessions. And if you're not a member of them, please join on the YouTube channel, and as well as here on Facebook, where you can join and become a member, where we share insights, discipline, courage, and teachings that can help you build your life. These are practical things that you can apply on a daily basis. And the third one was pain tolerance. Now, this one I'll never forget. You know, when I was fighting obesity, the first thing I did is I lost a lot of weight. I used to jog, I used to run, and it got to a point where my body was beginning to lose weight, but it wasn't shaping very well. It was like I was losing weight, but I was not shaped up. And I started to say, what do I do? And I had to realize I had to go to the gym. Boy, it was tough. It was tough because remember, as a young person, I didn't like doing sports. I'm an obese person. I've got this terrible thought pattern of myself as I'm too fat to achieve these things. Whenever it's a race, I'm coming out last and this, and it was traumatic. And for many people, that happens in their life. They've got trauma that shouts to them, that stops them from becoming the best version of themselves. So I already had enough trauma to say, you know what? I am not going to ever be good at this athletic or sports or this or that and the other. And what I then did is I looked for people that were good at it and I said, help me. I went out and I found a personal trainer or the guys that were training at the gym. And I asked them and I said, hey, I need help. I spoke out. And that is one thing that helped me be able to transform things. Being humble and understanding when you need help. I've met so many people that do not change their lives year after year because they are just not humble enough to say they need help. I went through and I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to hold the weights. I need help. And I remember when I started my first session, it was tough. It was the toughest thing I had ever done because my body was just not used to that. You know, lifting these weights and doing this and doing that. And how many sets do I have to do? How many reps do I have to do? Now I have to do this. Now I have to do that. Now I have to do this. Now I have to do that. And my pain tolerance was not there. I would feel the pain physically. And the worst part about feeling the pain physically and a personal trainer saying to you, no pain, no gain. I was saying, my goodness, why am I being abused? And it's like that with many areas of your life. What is it that you want to achieve this year? No pain, no gain. It's like that. You will have to literally feel it. There were times where, as an obese child, I was running, I felt like my lungs wanted to pop out of me. And when I mentor people, whether it's about finances, whether it's about health, whether it's about whatever you want to achieve, many of the times it will feel uncomfortable. Even when it comes to doing business deals, when it comes to, yes, it will feel exactly like that. You know, there's a proverb, Proverb 10:4, it says, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. Diligent hands bring wealth. And for me, I've come to learn the truth in that, to say there is a time where you must be diligent even in the pain. You must have a pain tolerance. I remember I spoke to somebody who just cannot save money. They said to me, whenever they save money, somebody always calls them and this person asks to borrow money, and they have to do this, they have to do that, they have to do this. And after speaking to them for a while, I realized that they had a pain tolerance when it comes to saying no. They felt physical pain when they say no to people who they love. And whenever someone who they love says, hey, I need money for this, they just give them that money. And at the end of the month, they hadn't had any savings. This was somebody who was an adult. They said, I have zero savings because there's just always something that happens. And I said, you don't have a pain tolerance for that thing. You have to develop a pain tolerance. This is where it gets difficult, where the pain tolerance becomes very difficult to tolerate. I speak to young people who they'll be focusing on building an application, building an AI thing, and they say their friends will come over and their friends will say, hey, you want to go play? You want to go do this? And then they go out and they play. And at the end of their stuff, their goal is not done. It's not achieved. And I asked them, why did you say you have to go out? Why didn't you tell them I'm working on something? They said, I just can't do it. I don't have enough pain tolerance to say to my friends, do not disturb me. When I started as an entrepreneur in business, there were days where I would tell people to say, you cannot call me because these are my focus times. Pain tolerance is important. You must be able to go through that pain. You must be able to strive through that pain. And here's the beauty about striving through that pain. After a while, you realize the secret that it wasn't pain, it was weakness leaving the body. It was weakness checking out. After doing those reps at the gym, after doing that jogging, I realized that it wasn't the fact that I was feeling pain while jogging, because now that I weigh much less, now that I am more active at the gym, now that my muscles have developed, it's no longer painful. So that pain I was feeling in the beginning, what was that? It was the weakness leaving. And you'll realize that with anything, when you're saving money and you now have more money saved, more self-control, whether you're doing well in your job, whether you're focusing on your goals, whether you're doing what your boss is telling you to do in the workplace, at whatever level you're at, you'll begin to realize that by you doing this, it is not pain, it is weakness leaving you. The weakness is disseminating away from you. Because after some time, as you do it more and more, you begin to realize that it's easier, it's better, it's more thriving, you're comfortable with it. And I want to talk about the solution, and I think we're going to end off very soon, but I want you to share this with as many young people as possible and say, hey, listen to this as a mentorship session. Listen to this because there's so much nonsense on social media and not enough teaching. And I'll tell you the truth. The most successful people in the world are people that sit down and listen to teachings. A lecture is not 3 seconds or 1 minute as a reel. A lecture is 50 seconds of you sitting, 50 minutes, sorry, of you sitting down and engaging with educational content that can change your life. So how do you get out? How do you get out of the state that you're in? What is this that you're supposed to do? How do you do it? How do you get out? How do you physically, financially, spiritually, what is it that you must do to improve your new year? And I'm glad that we're having this towards the end of January, because now we're dealing with the real you. Because if we had this session on the 1st of January, maybe you were still hyped up, new year, new me. Now we're dealing with the real challenges. Number 1, kill the negotiation. Stop negotiating with yourself. Oh man, I used to negotiate. I used to, I had a whole plan where I used to say to myself, if I jog, that means because I jogged, I can have the burger and the chips because the burger and the chips are going to cancel what I did in the jog. And that's it. I do the jog, have the burger and the chips, see no results. No, it's an event. It's a birthday party. I'm just going to eat this. I'm going to eat that. And one way through the cake, I'm now eating this and I'm now eating. Maybe it's your alarm. I'm gonna wake up after 5 more minutes. Just 5 more minutes. Kill the negotiation. If the food is bad, don't eat it. I had to learn that to say this whole thing of eating a burger every single day, if the food is bad, don't eat it. The moment I started arguing, I realized that I would win the argument. Because I was just so good at arguing with myself to the point where I just said, it's just a burger. It won't change much. Actually, and there were even days where I would argue with myself to the point of saying, and I love this argument, we're all going to die one day. It's just better to enjoy. What if I die tomorrow? What if a bus hits me tomorrow? Let me just eat this burger. Let me just do this thing. And I realized that if I start negotiating, I will win the negotiation. So the secret is to kill the negotiation. There's a stance or there's a story where they talk about a war, and all these guys are taken on a ship and they're going to an island to go and win the war. And when they're all driving or we're all on ship and they're getting on the boats and they get to the island and the captain sits with them and says, there's only one way we're going to win the war. And they all look at the captain and they say, okay, what are we going to do? The captain says, these ships that brought us onto the island, I'm going to set them on fire. And the captain begins burning every single ship. And then he's burning all the ships. People are saying, why are you burning the ships? What about us going home? And he says, if you don't burn the ships, you will negotiate with yourself. And he burns all the ships that brought them onto the island. And then he says, gentlemen, we have to win the war or else we die. And you know what happened in that war? They won the war and they took over the island. Why? Because there was no room for negotiation. The ship that came is now burnt. Either you do it or you die. And all of them found a way to win that war. None of them died. Why? Because they killed the room for negotiation. Kill room for negotiation. Take action. Kill any room for negotiation. I remember there was a time where I was struggling with a certain part of my body, and it was I had done very well. I'd become very successful. I could afford a personal trainer, and if you can afford a personal trainer, I would suggest that you do so. And I was training with the best trainers in the country that I was in, and I was doing very well. But there came a time where the consistency and the negotiation of going for every training session was more difficult. Do you know what I did? I paid the personal trainer that I was using upfront for the whole year. And that personal trainer, I was paying them 6,000 Rand per month for a personal training service. So paying them upfront for the year, I knew that I could not come June give up. Why? They already took the money. They're not going to give me back the money. So every time I'm going through to those personal training sessions, it is because it was that, and I'm saying this, your problem might not be obesity. You might never had to struggle with obesity. So you might never understand a single thing that I'm saying. But what about your finances? What about your spiritual life? What about your academics, maybe? What about your job? What about, so in whatever area you are in, burn the boat. You've arrived at the island. That little room you are leaving to for error and mistakes and going, burn the boat. Kill the negotiation. The second tip that I'm going to give you as we're about to close is fall in love with the boring. And I want to encourage you, if you've been taking notes, please share your notes in the comment section so that more people can watch it. And let me know whether you want many more of these sessions, because I love to teach. It's something I've always done. I've been a Sunday school teacher and I've taught young people on many things. But sometimes when life gets very busy, it becomes very difficult to be able to have these sessions. But I plan on having these sessions with you more, where we teach, literally sit down and teach on how to apply some of these principles that will help you amass great success in many areas of your life. Number two, fall in love with the boring. Yes, success is exciting. It's exciting. It's amazing. It's absolutely phenomenal. Success is beautiful. I want to tell you about falling in love with the boring. And when I was writing my book, a best-selling book, Mr. Bitcoin, bestseller all around the world, one of the things that I hated was the boring process of writing a book. I actually hated that process. It got to a point where I was like, I don't want to finish writing the book. And it was important for me to fall in love with the boring. Yes, it's boring, but I fell in love with it. Even with me eating the prepared meals that I had to eat, from having a burger every day with chips and pizzas every day, cool drinks, now I'm having 3 boiled eggs, sweet potato, and some water. I had to fall in love with the boring. I had to be enthusiastic about that. Now you can imagine having a boiled egg from burger to boiled egg. I mean, that might be the same for you in whatever area, in whatever discipline you're in. You might have to fall in love with the boring. Because discipline, in some point, it does get boring. And I want to explain the science behind this. There's something called dopamine. Dopamine means your brain gets a rush very quickly. But the problem with fast dopamine is that it drops very fast. So when I eat the burger, for about 10 minutes, I feel amazing. That burger was like a hug. But after that 10 minutes, I'm slow, I'm sluggish, I'm tired, I get headaches because I was drinking too much sugar. I'm frustrated, I'm moody. What happened? I got a dopamine hit and I crashed. But now when I'm eating the boiled eggs, now when I'm eating the boring stuff, my energy levels are more consistent throughout my day. And what begins to happen, I'm able to do more. Throughout the day, I'm feeling much better. Throughout the day, I'm not as dreary of the day because my dopamine levels are controlled. Once you can control the boring, once you're consistent in controlling your dopamine, you'll begin to understand that you're more productive, that you're more excited about life, that every day of your life you are moving upwards and forwards because you have controlled your dopamine. Go to someone who has an irregular dopamine. They have moods. Maybe they'll be excited for 1 day or 1 hour. The rest of the day, they are moody, they are grumpy, they're upset. What's the issue? You have not learned to control your dopamine. And what many young people are doing, and this is absolutely dangerous, and I want to warn against this, is that they're using social media as a dopamine hit. You get to work, you open your computer, you begin working, it gets boring, you go to social media, you scroll, you smile, you come back, you open, you go to, you scroll. So you're getting a dopamine hit from social media, and your work is not giving you any dopamine. You're creating an environment where your work is becoming something you hate and social media something you love, so your life becomes filled with hatred. I said to somebody the other day, I said, when you begin to get dopamine from the right things, you work hard on a project and you earn a reward for working hard and you feel excited, then it will become more exciting for you to work on your second deal, your third deal, your fourth deal, your fifth deal. But if every time you're working and you're going on social media to get a dopamine hit, you're creating an environment for yourself where your dopamine is coming from the wrong source. And when you meet people that are perpetually successful, people that are doing well, you wonder, what are they doing wrong? Well, one of the first things they're doing is they've controlled their dopamine. They've fallen in love with the boring. One of the major issues, alcohol. It is the best dopamine in the world. I said to a young person that I was mentoring, I said, if you can stay away from the best dopamines, you will become successful. Alcohol, best dopamine in the world. Social media, best dopamine in the world. What do I mean by best? It can get you excited, happy very quickly. It's a drug, it's a dopamine infused drug. Alcohol, social media, careless talking, doing nothing, lazing around, sleeping. These are dopamine hits that are amazing. But they will lead you to a place where you have not achieved your goal. So regulate your dopamine. How do you do that? You set a goal, okay? I'm gonna continually consistent with the diet, but Friday my burger's coming. And it was Thursday, I'm having the boiled eggs, but I'm remembering Friday my burger's coming. So I'm not saying, hey, don't have things that you like doing. I'm saying control when you want to do them. Control when you're going to do them. If maybe it's you saving money, you investing in stocks, you investing, and we're going to cover lots of those things where I'm going to teach you how to go about that. It might not be easy, not for you to spend on luxury or for you to spend on this. And even if you do drink alcohol or for you to buy your six pack or your bottle of this or whatever, it might not be easy for you not to do it. But I'm not saying stop it. I'm saying control your dopamine. Control it. Be in control. And the last part, respect your future self. So many of us have learned to respect other people. We've learned to respect presidents. We've learned to respect pastors. We've learned to respect teachers. We've learned to respect successful people. We've learned to respect business people. But we don't respect ourselves. We set goals with ourselves, we quit on ourselves. We set decisions with ourselves, we quit on those decisions. Why don't you love the future you? Why can't I love the future Mpodagada? Why do I have to ruin my future life by doing things that are going to ruin me in the future? Love starts by you loving yourself and respecting yourself, your future self. So it's very critical that you don't let your future self down. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is actually freedom. Discipline is where the real freedom is. And it's important that you come back and listen to this teaching again and again and again. And let me tell you for free, this teaching is not something that's exciting that you can listen to and you can, no, this teaching is helping you improve yourself. So your dopamine levels are stressed right now. They don't want you to listen to these sort of teachings. But I want to encourage you, save it. Listen to it over and over again and apply these principles, and you'll realize that you'll become unstoppable. You become better than many of your peers. You become so great that even people around you will fear you. You become so powerful that even those that thought that you were not so powerful, when they get in your presence, they realize that this person is more powerful than we could have even imagined. Because you would have learned discipline and you would have disciplined yourself to be able to achieve and become all that you want to achieve. It's possible for you to change your life. It's possible for you to change your finances. It's possible for you to change the environment, the lifestyle, the money, the net worth, the thinking. It is possible for you to change your life. You can become disciplined. You are able to kill the negotiations. You are able to kill the excuses. You're able to fall in love with the boring. You're able to respect yourself, see visions of yourself in the future. You're able to delay your gratification because you're aware that it's actually serving for you a greater purpose in the future. One of the things that I hate about today's generation is that we're losing out on the importance of teaching, sitting down and learning the principles that make men and women great. And I want to ensure that through my platforms, I'm increasing the intensity of these teachings so that you can learn, but also most importantly, you can transform the way that your life looks like. So make sure that you like this. Make sure that you share this. Make sure that you leave a comment because many people out there are watching things that don't benefit them. And it's important for us to spread the message of things that will benefit you so that you are able to see. So let me know how many more sessions you want and some of the topics you want me to cover. And I'll make sure that I give the time and the effort to plan and prepare these for you. Thank you so much for tuning in and see you inside of our membership session. Thank you.